welcome back to What Grows Around Comes Around with your host Josh. Today we are going to be doing a bit of propagating. As you can see here, we have an aloe plant. This is our aloe variegata we showed you last time. This plant has produced a ton of pups, and while that's great and we want a lot of plants, we don't want the mother plant to get suffocated by her children. That would be sad. So we're going to fix her up. We are going to take all the babies out. We're going to be putting them in these handy dandy Jiffy seed cut pots. These are literally $3 from your gardening store. I bought these at Home Depot. They come 15 to the grouping, and they're great. They're real small, but they're much larger than those little, you know, like the seed rows. They're much larger than that, so they're going to be great for these little aloes. The soil we're going to be using, I know you could get crazy, you could go with like a nice mix or anything, but we are just using Kellogg brand garden soil. This stuff is organic, it is OMRI listed. It says that somewhere down here, OMRI listed, meaning it is certified organic. This is made with only healthy ingredients for your plants. We're going to be using that. Don't let somebody tell you that aloes need specific soil. They really don't. This aloe is absolutely thriving, and so is the other one we have on the property, and they are growing in just nice organic garden soil. These pups will do great in that, and that's what we're going to use. Later on in the video, we're also going to be potting up some of these cuttings. These are Crown of Thorns from that plant in the back. I don't know if you can see it there. That's the one that we said was a little bit sick. So we're going to go through these cuttings. We're only going to use ones that don't have any disease on them, and we're going to be transplanting them. We have let them dry out for about a week now. So their tips, can you zoom in on that? See how their tips are, you know, a little brown? That's actually good. We want the wounds to callus from the cuts, and when they callus, the roots are going to grow out the sides, and they're going to take. So we're going to give that a shot as well. Okay, so we are now going to be starting with the Aloe Vera Variegata. We're going to be taking these little pups out one by one. So what you really want to do with this, there's a few ways. I could actually take this out of the pot, or I could just go in there with my hands, right? I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going in, digging around the aloe, and I'm going to just kind of grab it, take as much of the root as I can get. See, it's got roots on there, little baby. And we're going to then be taking this little baby and putting it in its own pot with the garden soil behind me. So we're going to get out a little pot, okay? I'm going to just tear open this bag here. Now, this is Kellogg garden soil. By the way, we are not sponsored by Kellogg. It is just one of the better organic soils you're going to find in a garden center. It's good because if you look at the grain here, there's a nice mix of products in there, and nothing is too large. If things are too large, it's going to be hard for little plants to break through it. So we have our soil, and we have our plant, which I almost mislocated. We're just going to dig a nice little hole for it. I'm going to pluck it in there. We don't want any of the green of the aloe to be buried. We want just the roots. You see the white on there? Just the roots. So we're going to get that in there. Cover it up. Give it a nice little firm patting. And this soil is already pretty wet, so we're not going to really need to water this in. Usually if your soil is dry, make sure you water it in, all right? So we're giving this a nice little pat, and we'll ask our fantastic cameraman if she thinks that looks good. Does that look good?
Yeah.
All right, good. We're done with that one. Now, I'm going to finish up these others in the exact same fashion, and then we're going to take a look at repotting this, okay? So we have all of our aloes planted up, and now we're going to go ahead and repot this. I want to point out that what I was doing while I was looking around is I dropped a few, and I'm sure you guys watching, you're probably laughing at me being like, oh, it's right next to your foot or something like that, but whatever. I assure you I will find them and they will be safely planted, because every aloe baby is important. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and repot the mother aloe plant, because we want it to not only produce more aloes, as you can see we have 1 or 2, 8 actually, but we also want it to not die because we like the plant. So we're going to give it a nice squeeze. This is a plastic pot, so you know we can do that. That's one of the advantages of plastic. And then we're just going to kind of dig it out, you know. There's nothing too scientific about this process. I'm just going to try and loosen the soil without breaking its roots. So we're going right along the edge of the pot. Now it's funny, as this plant was actually repotted fairly recently, but because of the pups coming off of it, it kind of got dislodged by itself. So we're going to give it a fighting chance. Now we're going to try and get all the roots up. If you break a few, it's okay. Again, an aloe is a really hardy plant. It's really hard to kill this plant, sometimes to a fault. And there you go. There's the root system of the aloe, and you can actually see it actually has another pup I didn't see. It must have been buried by the dirt. Going right here. That's way too young to use, so we'll just get rid of it. Sorry, pup. So yeah, so this aloe is looking great. Absolutely fantastic. So we're gonna lay that down. If you look in the soil here, there's a lot of root from the plant. Now, it's actually fine to leave that in the soil, because what it's gonna do is it's actually gonna just feed the plant. I believe there's rocks in the bottom of this pot that we use for good drainage. So we're not gonna mess with that, but what we will do is we'll put a little bit of the fresh garden soil on top, because this soil has some natural fertilizer in it. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Give it a little bit of top dress, a little bit more stability. Maybe just 1 scoop. Doesn't need to be, you know, too crazy. And if we need more, we'll put it in, but we'll see what the plant thinks. Plant's thinking, huh? All right. So we're going to make a nice little trench for Mama Aloe here, and we're going to put it in the pot. In fact, I might need to make even a little bit more room. And you might be thinking, wow, shouldn't you just transplant this? The answer is actually a resounding no, and that is because aloes like to be a bit root bound. They like to be nice and cozy. This is fighting me. All right, so we're actually going to take a bit of the soil back out. This might have been why it started dislodging. So we're going to put this a little bit deeper in the pot. Try and get it real deep. That looks okay. And now we'll backfill. We're just going to hold up the plant best as I can without cutting myself, and backfill over the root ball. Here's one of those rocks. Oops. Maybe not cover the plant though. I don't think the plant wants that. Make sure to get it on all sides. Kind of made a mess over here. Not sure if you can see that, but it'll be okay. And she is a little bit top heavy, and that is understandable. This plant has gotten a lot bigger than when we potted it. So we're gonna actually take a bit more soil, even though it doesn't look like it needs it, to make it more secure. A bit more of the soil in here. Look at that soil. Some nice dirt. Here we go. Okay. I really prop this bad boy up. Give it a fighting chance at life here. Trying to press it deeper into the soil as best we can. And then we're gonna give it one more filling, because this thing is still a little flimsy. And yes, I poured it directly on the plant, but don't worry, I will brush it off. Okay. So getting all the nooks and crannies filled with dirt. So this plant has a nice fighting chance at life. And how's that look? Does that look filled to you?
Yeah.
All right.
I'd brush it off a little bit more though.
Yeah. She's probably right, folks. Not only does the aloe not like it, but frankly, it doesn't look that good if it's covered in dirt, I suppose. All right. Nice little firm pat to secure it. And we have a mama aloe and her baby aloes. Now that we're done with the aloes, we're gonna give the Crown of Thorns a try. So, I mentioned to you that we had cut these and let them dry. We cut them from that plant back here. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through and see if any of these don't have that stupid scale disease on them. If they have any scale, like this one does here, I can give you a shot of it as long as I don't cut myself. See the pest pressure on there, on that leaf? It's ugly. We don't want sick plants, so we discard by throwing into driveway. Huh? That's okay. This one has very minimal pressure, but still some, so we're not gonna use it. So I'm just gonna go through and look through all these and see if any of them are pot worthy. So be right back. We got one. Two. A lot of these kind of died because they just dried out in the sun. They weren't going to be viable anyway. See all the dead leaves? We'll give this one a shot. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll give it a shot. Sadly, I didn't notice all this pest disease before when I put them in this bucket. The funny thing is, this isn't actually a bucket, it's just a drip pan. This is actually the pan that was responsible for nearly killing the Crown of Thorns because it was flooding it. It wasn't letting the water drain out. And because of that, we have all those right there that are sick and diseased with scale. So we have 3 candidates that we'll actually try and pot. That one is actually already growing. I'll show it to you. See, one's got new growth. The old leaf died, but the new plant's coming right out. So one's already growing, and the other 2 are still, they're okay and they're not diseased. So we're gonna give them a shot. So we're going to use these same seed cups as we did for the aloes. But see how some of these seed cups, they don't have any drainage? Well, all we're gonna do is, they're just not properly perforated. We're just gonna, kind of puncture with our finger and make a drainage hole. They are supposed to be there, it's just sometimes they just don't get cut right, No fault to the company, it's cheap material. So, I'm gonna go through, try and puncture these as best we can, give our plants a fighting chance of not drowning to death. That doesn't sound very fun for you and me, and it's not gonna be very fun for your plants, so don't let them drown to death. Once we've done that, we're going to start potting them up. Just gotta get this last one here. Alright, that's pretty good. So, in very much the same fashion as the aloe, I'm gonna pot these up with our Kellogg soil. You don't need to go too crazy with filling them in. These cuttings are gonna take a while to take root, so they're not gonna really outsize their pot very fast anyway. Just gonna dig a large, deep hole. Get it nice in there. Not all the way, but most of the way. And pat it in. Be very careful because this plant is spiky. It's got thorns all over it, as you can see. So just very gentle motions. Don't go crazy. If you want to, you can certainly wear gloves. But when handling these little tiny starts, that can be a little rough on them. So just however you do it, be safe about it. And there we go. Huh?
It'd be rough on you too. They're poisonous.
That's absolutely true. They are that's a good point she makes. The sap of these plants have latex in them. Latex is toxic to you. Plant latex, that is. Refined latex only to some. Don't touch the sap, don't get stabbed. Let's do the others. We're gonna get rid of sticks like this. If we ever see a stick, just get... All right, and there we go. We have 3 little Crown of Thorn plants all potted up, and we're giving them their best shot at new life. Now, you're going to be wondering whether or not we want to water our new plants in. The answer is normally yes, and we're going to give these a little bit of a drink, not too much. We have like a little plastic bottle that I'll show you in a minute that we use to water little plants, little seedlings, so it's not too hard. We just poke little thumbtack holes into the lid and we give it a nice water. However, this soil is quite wet. Oftentimes when you get it from a hardware store, if it was raining, the soil will be a little bit wet. The bags got soaked, you know, it's natural for it to happen. If your soil is wet, you don't want to water too much because again, you don't want to drown the plants. But we do have the drainage holes in there, so we'll be okay. All right, we'll be right back to water. So we now are back in the yard. We have our lovely Zephyr Hills bottle. Shout out to people that drink Zephyr Hills, with the cap punctured with thumbtacks. The writing in there just says plant so that nobody accidentally drinks it. I have done that. It's kind of nasty. So we're gonna water it with this. It's just gonna make like a little shower. See? Shower. And this is gonna help set the plants in, give them a good start. Because these plants, obviously we just kind of mess with them a lot. We want to make everything nice and settled. So we'll give them a nice little drink. And again, we're not giving them too much of a drink because the soil is a little bit wet. We don't want to drown them. And then we'll just give them one more pass. A little bit lighter this time. The extra pass of water is just to help the water absorb into the soil a little bit better. If you pour water too fast, it's going to go right through the soil and not really get absorbed. That should be good. Now, for watering the mother plant, I'm going to use just a conventional watering can. I bought a watering can for $3 at Walmart. I'm sure you can find similar deals. I'm sure if you really want a fancy watering can, you can do better. You can obviously water plants with a hose, however you want. But a plant this size, you don't need to be too particular with it. It's going to be okay. Just don't don't use a pressure hose, okay? Just be nice to your plants and they'll be nice to you. All right, guys, so that's all we have for today. We did go ahead and throw out all those diseased Crown of Thorns plants that had all that scale on it. It's really disgusting. Don't propagate diseased plants because you're gonna get more diseased plants and you're gonna spread disease to other plants. We want a nice disease-free environment. That way our plants are nice and healthy for years to come. So I do appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys, if you like the video, throw us a like, tell your friends, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content. And until next time, we'll see ya.